Several months ago, one of my friends posted 2 questions on her Facebook timeline as she was completing an assignment for a college class. Her questions were these: what metaphor do you see for America now? Melting pot, mosaic, or something different? What does being an American mean to you? Well, I thought about those 2 questions for a few minutes, and I considered passing on the opportunity to give my opinion, but if you know me very well, you know that I love words, and I rarely pass on that kind of opportunity. So I began to write an answer to those questions, and as I wrote, I was pleased to feel some emotion stirring within me, because I'm not really an overly patriotic person. But here are the words that I wrote. Without being overly dramatic or emotional, I view the shifting sands of America in the following ways. As a child, I learned very clearly in the late 1950s that America was a melting pot. That image has stuck with me throughout my life. I was once drawn to a play called The Melting Pot for my struggling Title I readers to wade through. They didn't understand the phrase or the notion of immigrants coming to America. They were children of poverty, and they had very small worldviews, as do many of us. Many people have forgotten or never learned the truth about the beginning of America. I loved hearing it. I loved hearing about all the hands that built America. I loved learning about the settlements of the colonies, the culture of those early days. But I also know that we are a very different, sometimes frightening country now. I learned more about the history of this country when I attended a racial equity institute. I encountered things that were never in the history books when I was in school. I became aware of practices that prohibited people of color from enjoying the same freedom and benefits that I had as I grew up. And although we were founded by immigrants, and in fact we are all immigrants, we don't quite know what to do with this today. While I keep the phrase melting pot in my head as part of my worldview, I also keep the Statue of Liberty in my head as part of my worldview. I see America as a lighthouse of hope. I still believe it is one of the greatest lands of opportunity, and I believe very strongly that our country is incredibly wealthy with resources and opportunity and education and, sadly, weapons. But when it comes to thinking about how things are right now emotionally in America, I would identify a different metaphor than melting pot or mosaic. Because we are so divided politically and in terms of values, I see America as a land of islands. We are divided into pods of people based on our political and our social beliefs, and to some extent to our educational experience. We live on our islands, and we sometimes yell across the water at our neighbors on the next island who've disappointed us, but who are still very much like us in so many ways. When large-scale tragedy hits the land, we quickly and lovingly build a bridge to the next few islands, and we cross over to offer help and love and prayers. And then when life returns to normal, we tear the bridges back down. That's the emotional part of living in America, to me. Always physically separated from each other due to the states and the distance, but always connected in some sort of pep rally kind of way, in spirit and in pride. I'm disappointed in some of the aspects of our government right now, but I still believe in the greatness of the country. Mostly, I think I believe in the greatness of people. When things don't make sense, I often turn my sights and my heart inward, and I narrow my gaze. And when I look locally at groups of people, I feel encouraged. When I look at the kindness in the community and support on my individual island, I know that people are often loving and incredibly generous. When I think about what it means to be an American, I think of freedom. Even though I know that there are marginalized groups of people who've never had equal freedom, yet I still find hope in the human spirit. Like Anne Frank, I believe that people are good at heart. I believe that people will continue to care about each other and about the inequities that remain in our nation, and in caring about the imbalance of freedoms and power and opportunity and wages, I believe that good people will continue to fight for the freedom for all people. That's what I wrote in answering the questions posed. What would you write? How much thought have you given to your life as an American? A few years ago, an AP English teacher asked her students this question: what does it mean to be a United States citizen? A student named Heather wrote this response: I was born on February 14th, 1986 in Seoul, South Korea. I was put up for adoption because my birth mother wanted me to have a better life, and she wanted me to come to America, which I think says a lot about what a great country we live in. 6 months later, I was adopted, and I was on a plane on my way to Detroit, Michigan. 9 years later, I became a citizen of the United States. I was now a legal resident with a social security number. I was made a citizen so late because my mom wanted me to remember that day. Well, at the time, I didn't realize what an amazingly proud day it was. I was no longer just another foreigner. I was now a U.S. citizen. I no longer had the threat to be deported. I was now here to stay. Being an American citizen can be described in one simple word: freedom. In America, you have the freedom to do whatever you want. Being an American citizen isn't a right, it's a privilege. Well, when I read those words written by that student, I thought of a passage in the Bible about freedom. It's found in Galatians chapter 5. It is absolutely clear that God has called you to a free life. Just make sure that you don't use this freedom as an excuse to do whatever you want to do and destroy your freedom. Rather, use your freedom to serve one another in love. That's how freedom grows. I think this passage helps us to connect patriotism of our nation with its promise of freedom to the freedom that we receive from God. I think that within this passage, there is a strong caution that our freedom should not be self-serving, but rather it should be a freedom of generosity and compassion. Rosa Parks understood this notion of freedom of generosity and compassion, as evidenced when she said, I would like to be remembered as a person who wanted to be free, so other people would be also free. Our hope lies in people, on the local level, on the national level, and the international level. Our hope for true freedom lies in our ability to remember the hands that built America, to remember that many of those hands were not allowed in the main house, and to remember that all of us are immigrants. Franklin Roosevelt said it best: Remember, remember always that all of us are descended from immigrants and revolutionists. Yes, our country is flawed, as every institution and every relationship and every unit in the world is. But despite its failings, our country is a good one. I am so grateful I was born here. Now, in case you're wondering, I know we've already had 4th of July, and I know we've had the picnics and the family fun, but I didn't want an important historic opportunity to pass by without noticing it and thinking about it. Thinking about our country, not just about politics, is important. We should all know what we think and believe about our place of residence, whether the 4th of July has passed by or not. It's something that we can hold in our hearts, how we feel about our country. I close with this poem written by Susan Noyes Anderson entitled, Let Freedom Ring. Our history is glorious. Why should we not stand proud? And yet today so many feel that pride is not allowed. Can our missteps obscure the truth that much of what we've done has nurtured peace and freedom in the lives of everyone? If we have made mistakes, we have. Does that erase the good? How many threats to freedom have our valiant hearts withstood? We are Americans, the keeper of our legacy. The way we view ourselves predicts the nation we will be. Our country runs imperfectly. We're learning as we grow. But let us not forget that greatness that was forged so long ago. Our heritage ennobles us. Allow it room to breathe. Set free the roots of who we are. Drink deeply and believe in give me liberty or death, in stars and stripes forever, in melting pots and second shots and dreaming big together. United, stand. Divided, fall. In this land of the free, not one in practice nor in thought, but one in liberty. Embrace the tired, the poor, the masses, raise that torch up high, and when our country's colors burst against the summer sky, remember to salute with pride the things they signify. Amen. John F. Kennedy once wrote these words, I look forward to a great future for America, a future in which our country will match its military strength with our moral restraint, its wealth with our wisdom, and its power with our purpose. Wise words, Mr. Kennedy. May those words become our prayer for our nation. Have a great Sunday and go in peace. Amen.